So it was daunting coming in because as you think about 5,200 stores, each of them independently owned, with so much that is at the discretion of each of those individual retailer owners. They can highly customize their assortment. A very large percentage of product in their stores can be fully bespoke according to the needs of their community and to the brands that they want to support. What they opt into from enterprise marketing is also at their full discretion. And so in this community, kind of the benefit of that is that data rules the day. Like, you need to be able to prove that something's going to drive business results in order to be well received.
Retail media is no longer just the domain of big box grocery or mass apparel. It's getting highly specialized, hyper-local, and incredibly smart, down to shifting ads based on real-time events, such as the daily weather forecast. Welcome to Retail Remix. I'm your host, Kate Robertson, Editor-in-Chief of Retail Touchpoints. Today, we are exploring the hardware sector with Molly Hjelm, CVP of Ace Hardware's RedVest Media, an RMN that just launched last year. Thanks for joining Retail Remix, Molly.
Thank you so much for having me, Kate.
To start, tell us a little bit about your journey to Ace Hardware. What's your background and what role did you play in the launch of RedVest in 2025?
So I started my career consulting with retail loyalty data right out of school. And that was a wonderful precursor to what retail media would ultimately become. It was the ability to look and identify consumer purchase behavior through the language of their transactions, to be able to anticipate their needs and consult with some of the largest brands in the country on how to meet those needs proactively. As the industry took shape that allowed retailers to become media companies, so to have their own inventory and also to use their data to connect them to their customers and be able to measure the impact of those messages on those customers, I really had a fire lit underneath me to be able to activate on the insights that I had been consulting on for so long. And so had the pleasure of being able to lead sales orgs and commercial teams for two other retailers prior to coming to Ace. And this journey at Ace, I was tapped to come here in order to bring that expertise to bear here at Ace. Ace was a company that had all of the foundational elements that one would want, plus a desire to launch a retail media network. So they have the scale. We have 5,200 stores across the US, across 50 states. We have a loyalty program. So we've got 70 million lifetime members of our Ace Rewards program. It's something we've invested in, that we're providing value to those customers and creating that two-way relationship with them. And like I said, they had the desire to stand this up. And so coming in has been a wonderful culmination of some of my past experience, and coming in and the ability to build a retail media network in this culture for this company with all those foundational elements behind us has been a really exciting experience. And as a result, we have really, I would say, leapfrogged some of the growing pains that more mature networks have experienced by nature of when they launched, and been able to launch very quickly. We launched in 6 months in 2025.
Wow. How have things been going so far? Have you noted any early responses from brand partners that you can share, especially around your full funnel capabilities and national to local activations?
Good question. One of the beauties of having been a sales lead for many years in this space is that I spent the better part of a decade working hand in hand with advertisers and hearing their pain points, hearing what they wanted in retail media, and not always being in a position, even in leadership, to be able to intercept or to move a product pipeline forward faster, to be able to shape or pivot our measurement in different ways. And so as I launched RedVest here at Ace, I did so with 3 driving principles of things that needed to be true at launch in order to respond to some of those things that I knew to anticipate from advertisers. The first was we needed to launch with a mature portfolio. It meant we had to have solutions that allowed our advertisers to intercept our customers off-site, off our properties, on-site, so on acehardware.com and on our app, and in-store. And that was paramount because we're launching into a mature industry that already has, our advertisers are accustomed to having all of those levers at their fingertips. And so to launch with something that was more nascent was really not an option. So that was the first. The second was that it had to be measurable. So it was table stakes. It was mandatory that we be able to launch media that could be measured in real time. And both online sales and offline sales needed to be part of that measurement in real time. And so as a result of those two things, I knew that we would have a vendor community that would respond positively to having many levers at their disposal, a la carte menu, if you will, and the ability to see performance in real time. But the third thing that was table stakes was launching with a full business mentality behind it. So this isn't retail media being launched on an island in a broader retailer. Don't look over there, that's our media company. This retail media network needed to be intrinsic to ACE, and I needed our advertisers to feel that when they engaged with my team, my in-house team here at ACE, that we were coming with a full understanding of their business, that we were joined at the hip with our merchandising partners. So we knew when they have promotions, we know if they have challenges with e-commerce setup, we knew how to help them navigate some of those things. And so that full business mentality, all of those three things, I think have been key to the receptivity that we've received from our advertisers.
ACE is also a co-op model, which really makes it unique. How does that play a role in building the retail media network?
So it was daunting coming in because as you think about 5,200 stores, each of them independently owned, with so much that is at the discretion of each of those individual retailer owners. They can highly customize their assortment. A very large percentage of product in their stores can be fully bespoke according to the needs of their community and to the brands that they want to support. What they opt into from enterprise marketing is also at their full discretion. And so in this community, kind of the benefit of that is that data rules the day. Like you need to be able to prove that something's going to drive business results in order to be well received. And so our marketing team, our e-commerce team, our last mile scaling team that has launched our partnerships with DoorDash and with Instacart and with Uber Eats, like the way they craft their approach to these business owners is data driven, no nonsense. And it's why they're able to scale quickly. Luckily for retail media, e-commerce is a shared service across our full enterprise. It's a value add that's provided to all retailers. They have the ability to help drive awareness and conversion for their assortment in e-commerce that then can get fulfilled through their stores, or those sales fulfilled in their communities count towards that retailer. There's a huge benefit to us having these e-commerce properties for those retailers. But as we think about launching things like, as we head further into the store, as we think about monetizing elements of the store, that will be a different beast here at ACE than it is for other retailers in ways that can be positive and in ways that can be challenging.
Was there anything that surprised you stepping into hardware coming from your background? You were in grocery and dollar previously. Yeah, was there anything that kind of, you weren't expecting?
So one of the biggest surprises I had as I stepped into role, having come from media networks where their prime endemic clients were CPG brands, some of the leading CPG brands. For CPGs, they've been navigating retail media networks for a decade now, whether it's Amazon as the progenitor of the industry and then all the other players that have emerged and catered to CPG. In hardware, what surprised me most is that even as a late mover to the space, we are coming several years after some of the other hardware retail media networks have been stood up. What I'm finding is that the brands that engage in hardware have had a very mixed experience of retail media across the other players for various reasons. But unlike CPG companies who you'll engage and they'll be very convicted about the way that retail media should be conducted, where the budget should come from, how it works best for their brands, and they have all these best practices that they come to the table with. What I found is that in activating their very first campaign with RedVest Media, our endemic advertisers, whether they're grilling companies or power tool companies or paint companies, are having maybe their first most transparent experience with retail media, where they can see those results in real time, where we're having a conversation about the optimizations, and they leave with a very clear understanding of the power of retail media as a tool in their toolkit. I was not expecting that. I was expecting that we would come and really be benefiting from their expertise. And that is happening in some cases. But it's been an interesting and fun position to be in, to help be the proof point of how retail media works best and how to help guide and deploy it in service of business results.
Yeah, that's so interesting that there was such a big opportunity there. As you're looking toward the future, tell us more about where you're innovating down the line and where you're seeing opportunities for more sophisticated offerings.
So I shared that our strategy was to launch with a mature portfolio at launch. We wanted to be at parity with what advertisers would expect of any retail media network, with offsite, in-store, and on-site. When it comes to portfolio expansion, we're not after gratuitous expansion or one-off kind of Frankenstein partnerships. What is guiding our roadmap is things that are uniquely ACE, things that will help endemic brands succeed at ACE and drive their businesses forward, things that make sense for the context of our types of businesses. For example, we're a highly seasonal business, and so and weather really impacts our sales. A big snow season can make or break winter sales for us. And so things like launching weather-triggered programmatic makes so much sense as an evolution of the programmatic portfolio we already have, as a way to help our brands save investment, have more efficient investment where it matters, and drive awareness at a time that's really helpful to our customers. In addition, I think we're also looking for ways to make it more seamless. So we've launched a mature portfolio, but we're always in search of ways to make it more seamless to transact across our portfolio. And so some of the news that will hit the market soon is about how do we allow advertisers to transact in their preferred platforms to be able to get access to our inventory and remove any of the friction that might be there. We want to be as frictionless as possible, as effective as possible, highly measurable, and launching things that are unique to ACE.
Let's talk more about that extreme weather that you touched on. That sounds so interesting. How are you tapping into data and weather insights to present relevant ads to the network?
So we have a list of various discernible weather triggers that we can leverage, weather and things like big storm events and even UV and moon phase. Like, we have many, many different variables at our disposal that allow us to potentially deploy media. Some of the biggest ones that make the most difference for the ACE business and for the advertisers that sell through us are snow, hail, and snowstorms. Hurricane season coming upon us. We're big in helping prepare our communities for these weather events and also helping them restore themselves after these weather events. That's the key role that we play as a localized retailer in those markets. And so helping drive awareness for the fact that we have product in stock at those key times to anticipate customer needs is huge. Wind events, humidity, air quality, all of those things become triggers that we can deploy media against. And this is one of those instances where it's not a new concept. This is not the idea of weather triggering is not in and of itself inherently novel. We've actually had the opportunity to learn from some of our advertisers who are testing this and seeing effective results from it. The benefit of it is that we're using those same triggers to be able to intercept the ACE customer with the power of our first-party data to be able to connect and reach with a known ACE customer, and then the ability to measure the impact back to in-store and online sales through our ecosystem. So it's just a way, just like our use of AI for optimizing audiences and the use of our real-time measurement portal to make it easier to access our measurement, it's just a way to make programmatic work a little better for our advertiser base.
And how do retail media networks like RedVest Media differ from what traditional media is able to do when it comes to these real-time shifts like a weather event?
Yeah, the triggers are likely the same. The capability is there for traditional programmatic media. That's the same type of capability that we're tapping into. And yet with anything retail media, the value that a retailer brings to this is that trusted relationship with a customer, that the first-party data that we have that allows us to connect the dots and know that the person that you're reaching is a relevant customer. And then on the back end, to be able to measure that impact at a highly granular level, at the SKU level, at the brand halo level, to be able to really see the retail sales impact of that media.
Can you share an example of how you use regional demand patterns and behavioral signals to adapt advertising as weather changes?
Yeah. We'll use both our ACE regional data and we'll follow the lead of our brand partners to help us determine which specific regions we want to focus on for which campaigns. Typically, we're using a single or just a couple weather events in those named and known specific regions up front in the design of the campaign. And we're leveraging several different versions that are triggered based off of different variations of that event. So snow is an example of when we're anticipating a snowstorm, that message might trigger differently than after the close of a snow event. And we are, like I said, you can customize it based off of the region. You can also maintain an equity message so that if there's no weather event happening, you have the ability to still have messaging going. And then there's more ability to predict kind of how that budget will spend and the impact that you have. And you also have that point of comparison across different creative variants to be able to see what worked better.
And how does ACE ensure that inventory aligns to the demand it's driving behind weather events?
I love the way you phrased that question. That is inherently one of the other values of retail media here is that retail component of retail media, our ability to work internally with our merchant partners and with inventory in order to stock up in advance of weather events or in advance of big media campaigns or promotions in order to ensure that a customer is seeing a message that then they're able to convert on that product that's advertised. ACE has done that for years. I mentioned, a big part of how we deliver helpfulness around weather events is related to us stocking product in advance of hurricanes, in advance of snow season, in order to make sure that those local needs are covered. And so by helping connect those advertisers in particular who are already well stocked for those weather events to this as an offering, it's a win-win.
Let's talk a little bit about the other innovations that you mentioned a little earlier in our conversation. Retailer Reach, I believe, was one. What has the reception and performance been like on that solution?
Yeah. Retailer Reach is an example of something that we launched earlier this year that is completely unique to ACE. This is not going to make sense for really any other retailer. It's a co-op specific type media channel. What it is at ACE, really it's a two-step model. You have the ability to influence, to work with a merchant as a brand. You have the ability to work with a merchant to determine whether or not your product is eligible to be included in our warehouse. And then our independent business owners have the ability to determine whether or not they will order that product to stock it in any one of their stores. And so distribution has these multiple steps to it, which is not the case at other retailers. And there's opportunity there that we, informed by the feedback that we were receiving from brands, I would invariably have a conversation with them about the retail media network we were launching, which is designed, as most retail media networks are, to reach customers. And they would ask me, is there anything that you have that could help connect me to ACE retailers and increase the likelihood of being ordered into those stores? And so we did some tests in Q4 and then launched at scale in Q1, our Retailer Reach solution, which allows brands to have advertising in the retailer order platform, educational articles, and emails to our retailer community to increase their likelihood of awareness, consideration, and conversion among our independent business owners.
And looking ahead, what excites you the most about the future of in-store media and retail media innovation?
Ooh. There's so much that's changing right now. That's been the fun thing about being in retail media. I love the pace of change. What we're finding is that where customers are spending their time changes every year. And so it's an arms race always in retail media to get to a place where you can intercept customers where they're spending their time. And now we're supercharging that, not just with the walled gardens or the platforms where they're spending their time, but also the fact that intent signals are fragmented and where they're conducting their search, how they're conducting their research, and how informed they are along the way is really fragmented now with LLMs. And so in this, what still remains and has always remained is the value of retailer customer relationships. The first-party data that we have, our in-store footprints, and the fact that still the vast majority, I think it's 84% of transactions in the US, according to US Census data, are still happening in-store. Those become tantamount. And so all retail media networks, I'm sure you're seeing, are really working to build up in-store media portfolios. We have in-store offerings today, and we'll continue to look to enhance those. As those get better and more valuable to customers, there's huge opportunity there. And in general, we don't fully know how things are going to evolve over time, but I have a lot of confidence that the retailer data and the retailer relationship is still going to be tantamount in the midst of it.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Retail Remix. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a future episode. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or your favorite podcast app. Until next time, keep mixing it up.